Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Hawaii in Real Life. We are here with Alice Inoue, who is a life guidance coach at her new office in the Gentry Pacific Center. And actually, one of the reasons I came here today was to get astrological reading and just to kind of see what's happening for the coming year or two or three. Depends. So I was wondering, am I typical of your normal astrological?
Yeah, I think, you know, what's interesting is what I've really worked hard to do is to dispel that thing that this is some weird thing from the 70s for entertainment only. I have seen probably about 3,000 people since I started the business.
Wow.
Yeah. And everything from presidents of banks and general managers of like malls to janitors, and so I think everybody's life is important to them. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what level you're at. So I guess in a certain sense, you would think that I have all these like woo people coming in, but they're just really everyday people that have jobs and families and sort of want to know the bigger picture of life and to get a new perspective on their life. Like, why am I going through these challenges? Why am I feeling this way? I didn't want to quit last year, but now I feel like I need to change my life. And then for me to come and say, oh, this is your cycle. So I deal in life cycles. Like, is it time to do this? What's happening? How are you feeling? And it's oftentimes confirmation.
Oh, okay. Or sometimes it's just kind of unusual stuff. Like a lot of you guys know that a few years ago I had lost my job at the Lotown Marketplace. But actually, I can't remember if it was before all of that happened. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but she had seen my chart and she's like, you know, you're going to start your new life.
Cycle of change. Yeah. It was just that there's some turning points here, and I think just to have the heads up, then when it happens, you don't work so hard to try to hold on to the old. And look what you did. You completely recreated your life in a different way. And for me, it's the same thing. 12 years ago, I was on television, right? I had TV shows, Nike, Polo, Ralph Lauren were sponsors. People paid me money to wear their clothes, and I had TV shows in Japan, all this stuff. And I went to see an astrologer, and he told me in 1997, he told me that in 2001, in fact, April of 2001, that my life would take a turn and I would go on a different path. And I didn't really believe it because I was so successful at the time. But one by one, I started losing all my TV shows and all my sponsorships. Oh my on April 1st, I walked into Japan TV News and my boss said, Alice, I have good news and bad news. The good news is we sold the company. The bad news is they didn't buy your newscast because I was doing a newscast. So I walked straight to the unemployment office and I didn't even realize that it coincided with what the astrologer guy said until I turned on my, do you remember Palm Pilots? Yeah. Turned on my Palm Pilot and it was April 1st. And I thought it was April Fool's, but it's April 1st. And then there was like a little facetious message that I wrote to myself. Pluto is gonna change your life course. Like, ha, you know, change of life direction. Here I am in unemployment, and that's what started my whole life change. I went straight to Borders and bought books on planets because I wanted to understand how could somebody know that it was time for me to change paths. So that started my whole life guidance career.
Okay. Now, I should caution you, like some people, when I've gone to psychic readings or whatever, and if there's something that's not favorable, they're like, you need to see a new one. But that's not what it is. I do this to just see what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of prepare for it. Yeah,
so. All it is just like if you're going to drive from here to Manoa and I tell you, hey, Nehoa Street has construction, then you know you're going to go on a different street. So it's just so you can get a heads up about the weather. And, you know, life is challenging. And people always think like, oh, don't tell me anything bad, you know, but it's really, there's nothing, life is life. And the more information you have, the better equipped you are to handle. Exactly. You know, just like your accountant will look at your finances and tell you where you're at. So I kind of look at your life cycle and sort of tell you where you're at.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So it's not like anybody's going to change your fortune. It is
what
it is.
Yeah. I hate that. Yeah. You know, you create your life and you do what's good for you. And this is just like sort of like insight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, when I walked in today, there was like boxes and boxes of stuff. So what? It sounds like you've been busy.
I have been busy. So I have this goal that I publish one book a year, and it started 4 years ago. And so my book just came out today. It was just, my first thought was like, oh my God, Melissa's coming in. It's supposed to be this feng shui perfect office, and there's just boxes everywhere. But it's called Just Ask Alice, and it's literally a compilation of all the different questions that people have asked me over the years about everything on life and guidance that they need. So life and living. So there's things like, what is karma? Why is the world so negative? Just all these really general questions. And then to personal questions like, how can I get my husband to do what I want him to do? Or like, just like really interesting stuff. Or like, I've been having an emotional affair with this woman I'm married. So it's like a Dear Abby. So things like, can you give me insight into my life's purpose? Or world tragedies, will the world ever balance itself out? Or why do bad things happen to good people? What's the secret to being happy? So it's just all the stuff that I tell people in my sessions. And then the second part too is guidance on living. So like, how can I stop procrastinating? Or like, is it harder for Generation Xers to find love?
Yes, it is.
Things like that. Things like that. So yes, it's like a Dear Abby, but it has to do with the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So answering it from astrological viewpoint, feng shui viewpoint, empowerment viewpoint, inspirational viewpoint. So it's a different sort of column.
Neat. And then you have all these other books.
Yeah, I have other books. My first book was A Loving Guide to These Shifting Times, and the world is changing so drastically. And my quote is, as we move into a future that has no reference to the past, at times we can't help but wonder where we're going. So it's sort of like the bigger picture, like, how do we navigate our life if we have nothing to base it on anymore? Nothing is what it used to be, so how do we navigate change? Second book, Be Happy. It's your choice. It's about making decisions that don't depend on your outside circumstances. Like, how can you be happy if all these junk things are happening to you? And so that one won a national award in the mind, body, spirit category. So that's one. And then I wrote this one last year called Feng Shui Your Life, which is a pretty thick, detailed book on how to get yourself aligned with yourself.
Wow.
That's the way to put it. Environment and inner environment.
So to get these books,
Amazon.com, Sedona at Ward Center, any major bookstore.
Oh, okay.
Sells the books. Yeah.
Oh, so it's easy to get.
Pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazon.com or Sedona.
Yeah, Sedona or Borders if they're there. Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
Yeah, no more Borders.
Yeah, no more Borders. Yeah. Even though they got me started.
Neat.
So yeah, so it's just I just absolutely love what I do, and I love to help people find what can make their life work for them instead of just going through their life and not really living. Yeah.
Okay. So you do all these things. You have the book, you do astrology, you do feng shui, you're a minister. Out of all these things, what gives you the most satisfaction?
I think everything. And the thing is that my greater purpose is to help people see a new light in their life, my greater purpose. So whether they spend time with me one-on-one and I'm able to give you some insight, or whether you come to a workshop, so I'm talking to hundreds of people, or whether you're reading my book. So all of these are just ways for me to get my message across, so everybody will meet me at the level that they need to.
Has anybody come up to you afterwards and been like, oh my God, thank goodness you told me that? Or...
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I really love about what I do, because I do have the tools that can help people, and to be able to use that and people to come back and say, yeah, that, and because sometimes you go through really challenging times, your husband dies or your child gets hit by, there's stuff that goes on in life where you just don't understand, and it's so painful, and to be able to nurture a person through something so that they're not in the pits as long as they would be, to help them to understand the bigger picture, that I think is for me the most rewarding.
Yeah, that would probably be it for me too, like just knowing that you help someone. And
that part I think is, and also I people look at me and they think like, oh, you're always happy, and your life is so easy, so great. Yeah, but it's like when you read some of my books in the introduction, I talk about where I came from, I guess, in that sense, from a family of abuse and all this stuff. So I think because I've seen the other side of the tracks, it really helps me to understand and be able to relate to people, to help them to move into a more balanced place in their life.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I had a bad job once, and whenever things get really bad, I look back on it, I think things will never be that bad again.
Yeah, because once you've handled it, it's a whole different story. And life is always going to give you two sides. You're always going to have the challenges, and you're always going to have the support. And if you have this dream that someday your life is going to be better when you have more money or you have love, you're never going to be able to live in the present. So sometimes it's just bringing people back to the present and saying, okay, this is what's going on. So how can we find the flip side to the challenges that you're facing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about you in the past and the present. So what's next for you, like in 2012?
2012, the big year, the end of the year, end of the world, as some people are calling it. Yeah. So at my 11-11-11 event, I'm going to talk about the Mayan calendar and how we're going through major cycle shifts into a renewal of self. And I think that for me, my larger goal is to move more into an international arena. And already I'm doing different things on the national level and speaking to people across the United States in that sense. But yeah, I guess it's just for me is to continue building. Oh, I know what it is. I started a mentorship program this year, and it's because I'm in my 10th year of business, and so now I'm teaching people to do what I do so that they can actually go out and have the same style that I do with people. So in feng shui, in astrology, it's just really great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so if you want to hear more about Alice's stuff, you can go to her workshops. Check out her website at...
Okay, I have two websites. You can go to my company website is alicenoue.com, and that shows all the different stuff. And you can spell my name correctly, which is Inoue. But if you spell it incorrectly, it also points it to the right site.
Okay.
So alicenoue.com, and then aliceinspired.com has my blog. And if you sign up for my newsletter, I usually, every so often I'll send out things about what's going on in the world that might really relate to what's going on in your life, and then you go, oh, is that why I've been so grumpy lately? Is that why everybody's been cutting me off? But it just gives you it doesn't give you an excuse to say my life sucks, but it gives you an understanding of like, oh, okay, that's why people have been sort of touchy around me.
Yeah, I love those. It's real short, and it's good to just know what's going on, especially like when Mercury's in retrograde or...
Yeah, and you get to learn about all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you want to see Alice, get an astrological reading, check her out on her website. You can contact her through there. Check out her books, Amazon.com, Sedona, Barnes & Noble, or...
That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And yeah, so on personal consultations, just FYI, there's about a 6 to 8 week waiting list right now. Yeah,
okay.
And sometimes it gets up to 8 months. So right now we're low, but once I do my 11-11 event, it just goes up. So yeah. So anyway, I'd love to work with people one-on-one, but there's so many different ways to get access to good information.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.